Thank you, Sean. Good evening, everybody. This is again Own Your Life, and I'm getting quite excited and getting quite scared because this is the second last of the napkin presentations. Next week will be the last one. The book carries on, but I decided, no, I'm not going to carry on. We're doing the 10 napkin presentations, and next week is number 10. So tonight we are doing number 9. So let me share my screen. Hopefully it will come up. Here we go. All the pictures away, and I'm ready to roll. Okay. One of the most important of the napkin presentations is this particular one on motivation. This will give you an excellent understanding of what motivates people. You will learn how to work with your people to motivate them. Start out by writing the word motivation at the top of your napkin or on your whiteboard. You next draw 2 arrows, one pointing down and the other pointing up, as the picture I show you. Point out that there are 2 kinds of motivation, down motivation and up motivation. Label the arrows. Down motivation is what we call hot bath, but up motivation is constant. Let me explain. Most of you probably have been to a rah-rah motivational rally, found yourself gung-ho, enthusiastic to get with it and get going again with the program you're in. I'm sure all of you that's on, or most of you that are on this session tonight has been to Bloemfontein, that there's a 3-day rah-rah and we all get so excited, and usually find that you've cooled off again in a couple of weeks or months. When you take a hot bath, it seems the hotter the bath, the quicker you seem to cool off. And there's no hotter place than Bloemfontein, with Charlie Bloem. I've seen people go to these motivational rallies that last up to 3 days, like Bloem. Then 2 weeks after they get home, they are totally depressed. Why? For 3 days, they got hyped up, really motivated, but nobody told them what to do or how to do it. And that's why they get down. Even reading this book is a hot bath. I'll get to up motivation in a little bit time. Going to seminars, getting together with your sponsor, reading a book, moving from product, obtaining more knowledge. These are all forms of a hot bath or down motivation. That's not to say they're bad. They are very, very necessary. But before I talk about motivation, I want to talk about attitude. Imagine that you're going to talk to someone about your business. That person doesn't know anything about it. So they have an attitude level of 0. Let's say for you to be effective in talking to them about the business, you need an attitude level of 50 degrees. If your attitude level is short of that 50 degrees, don't talk to anybody because they will just drag you down. The person you want to sponsor has come to your presentation. They have signed the application. They want to get started, and boy, are they excited about this business. They're all the way up to 65 degrees. They're going to get rich. Before they have had a chance to learn anything, they go out and start talking to people. Since they really don't know how to handle themselves when confronted with negative skeptics, they get negative themselves, and it happens so fast. Even us that have been in the business for so long get negative very quickly. This can happen even with well-meaning relatives and friends who may have been disillusioned by getting signed up by someone who just wants to get rich of them, rather than by someone who is willing to be able to help them build a business. A real sponsor has a commitment to helping others ahead of helping himself or herself. What will happen if they will drop below the 50-degree level? You get back together with them again, answer their objections and questions they may have, and they'll go back up to maybe even 70 degrees. And this time they will stay there a little bit longer before they go below 50 degrees again in their attitude level. The question, how would you like to have an attitude level of 50 degrees all the time? In other words, you aren't up and down like a yo-yo, but you want to be constant. The only way we know how you can do that is with up motivation, because up motivation is constant. Here is what up motivation is all about. You have a sponsor. Your sponsor, the SP that's on that little picture, will help to sponsor people for you. We start with 5. Notice that when you sponsor 5 people, you have only 25 degrees. Again, a mistake to sponsoring more than you can effectively work with, adding 5 degrees at a time and losing them just as fast as we learned right in the beginning. Your sponsor helped you sponsor these 5 people, and you in turn will help those 5 people to sponsor others for their 5 degrees. Their 5 degrees is 10 degrees for you because it's second level. All your second level people are worth 10 degrees each for you. Notice, if you only helped 1 of the 5 people to sponsor 5 others, that would put you already above the 50 degrees. Notice what happens when you teach sponsoring down another level. The 3rd level is 20 degrees, the 4th level is 40 degrees. The deeper you go, the hotter it gets. So start building your legs all the way down. The only way you can appreciate this phenomenon is when it's first happening, and that's why you want it to happen to your people as soon as it can possibly happen for them. Once they experience it, they will be excited. Here's an example. Carol sponsors Tom. Tom sponsors Bill. Carol gets a phone call and finds out that Bill went out last week and sponsored 5 serious people. He's really going to run with it. What happens excites everybody up the sponsoring line. Note the arrow going up. That's why we call it up motivation. John and Debbie always talk about going down, talking to the bottom one, motivating them, and it will boost your top people. You need to help the people you sponsor to support their people. Let me show you an exception to that. When you sponsor someone into the business, they are a silver ship. Remember right in the beginning, we talked about the ships. Everyone comes in as a silver. They're excited, but they haven't become serious yet. Everybody has at least one friend. Get together with your people, help them to sponsor some of their friends who come in as silver ships. Support your people as they help their friends to sponsor more friends on down line 3 or more deep. All of a sudden, right down line somewhere, you will find someone who suddenly turns out to be a gold ship. Here's what you do. Go down and work with that gold. The first real gold you have in that line. What will happen is that in the process of helping the gold, the silvers will be converted to gold. And that is how you convert the silvers. Get someone under them. If that person under them excels, they are the gold ship. The silver that had sponsored them will say, hey, I'd better get my act together. There isn't anything that will motivate a person more than to have someone under them doing something. It's been said, you can motivate people faster and more effectively by putting a candle under their sitting place than by putting a blowtorch to their sinking place. You know about Charlie Goya? This is Goya. To wrap this up, the one thing you don't want to happen is for people you sponsor to develop a dependency on you. They cannot be dependent on you forever, otherwise it's not going to work. There's got to be a point where they don't need you. We say this point is reached when your people can teach their people to teach all 10 of the napkin presentations. Then they know everything they need to know how to build a strong organization. Then you can go and find another serious person to replace them. Let's suppose for this example, you sponsored Sue. You would say to Sue, Sue, let's say you are like the sun. The sun has more energy than anything we know of. It's kind of an indirect compliment to Sue. You continue by saying, the person you, Sue, sponsor is like a pan of water. Just take note that we didn't say you sponsored Sue, but don't assume the role of the sun and call her a pan of water. So you don't say that you are the sponsor. Sue's the sponsor. Sue's the hot sun. She's not the pan of water. It's not that flattering when you say she's the pan of water. So in your group, there is a sun. At what point would that water boil? You took a pan of water and set it out in the middle of the hottest desert on the hottest day of the year. It still would not boil. It will get warm, but it won't boil. It will take 212 degrees for the water to boil. Now, this is all in American degrees, not in our South African. It won't boil at 210 degrees, 211 degrees. It has to be at least 212 degrees to boil. So notice, if your attitude is at 212 degrees and only needs to be at 50 degrees to be effective, you could talk to anybody, anytime about what you're doing. So that's the direction your attitude is heading. We just told you that the sun can't make the water boil. Your sponsor can't make the water boil either. None of the hot bath motivation can. I don't care if all the top people in all of the network marketing companies came to town for a rally. You went to all of them. Your water will never boil. They can get your attitude above the 50-degree effective level, but it's up to you to get the water boiling. Remember, your sponsor will help you, assist you, guide you. In other words, you know some people your sponsor doesn't know. Your sponsor will go with you and help you to sponsor someone. Once you have sponsored someone, you have started the burner under the pan. With 5 people sponsored, you now have the pan sitting on 5 jets of the burner. The maximum number the pan can effectively cover. You can effectively work with 5 people at a time. Notice, the water isn't boiling yet. Only 25 degrees if your 5 people have not sponsored anyone. But if any 3 run off a string 3 deep, or any 2 a string 4 deep, or any 1 a string 5 deep, the water begins to boil. Any combination that adds up to 212 under the pan will get the water to boil. At the time the water is boiling, the sun, the sponsor, can go away and the water will continue to boil. Once you've shown a person this, you call them on the phone, they realize that you are calling because you want to help them. You are not calling to give them a blowtorch to the head, but rather you are calling to see if you can light another burner or turn the temperature up in those already lit. You want to help them to get their water to boil. The further you go down the group, the hotter the burner gets. In all the programs, once you have a person with their boiling water, it may look similar to the example in this diagram next to it. Notice that you have others sponsored as well. The first one to boil is not necessarily the first one you sponsored. It is the first one that got serious and got the depth in the organization to get and keep it going. When the water boils there, you can continue working with 5 serious people. Notice that the pan can sit on only 5 burners at a time. This kind of takes us back to the first presentation in chapter 11. If you have 15 people sponsored into the business, you can work effectively with only 5 at a time. You may have to sponsor 10 to 20 people to get those 5 serious people. What happens to the others? We put them on the back burner, so to speak. We don't forget about them. We just put them there at the back while we work with those 5 hot ones. When you have the water boiling on 1 or more of the 5, before you go out and search for someone brand new to sponsor, just take a trip around to those back burner people and let them know what's going on. Talk to them. Discuss the Own Your Life book with them. Discuss where they are and what they're battling. You may find that because of timing, circumstances at the time you sponsored them, they weren't ready yet to get serious about the business. But suddenly they realized that they are now ready. Maybe they were just waiting to see how the program was going to work for you. So many people want to see if you can succeed, then they will do it. Otherwise, they won't bother. So it's up to you. They're watching you as much as you're watching them on the back burner. They are watching you. So take a trip around the back burner and go and talk to those people. Go and motivate them again. Go and get them back up. Go and get them doing their thing. So next week, we are going to do our last napkin presentation, number 10, and it's titled Pentagon of Growth. And I see there's a chat. He's trying to tell me something. Thank you very much, Sean. 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's very much. Who remembers Goya? Do you know what I'm talking about when I talk about Goya?
Goya, it rings a bell. That lady.
No. Charlie I've got a whole thing in my bag. And often when I used to do the live ADTs with my group, I'll have to bring it out again. We did the Goya, Goya, which means
I thought you said Boya. No, Goya.
Goya.
I've never heard of that.
Get off your ass. That is Charlie. He tells that, I mean, Charlie's as sharp as a, don't know what, but it works. I often used to give that demonstration when I had a big team, and it just lightens it up. When I first started, I loved using that demonstration. It's still in my bag, and it really works. But getting off your ass, Goya. It's simply by showing you that we all need to do our 100 PV. And if you don't do your 100 PV, you ain't getting your money. So it sort of just brings home that each one of us needs to work. Each one needs to do their bit. And that's how the new method is getting people under you, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deep. And if each one of those people of your downline get their own products for their own use and introduces the business to someone else who buys it for their own use, what a privilege that we will have 6 or 10 deep under that one burner, and we need 5 burners of all those people deep. So that's it from my side on napkin presentation 9. So it's quite exciting that we're going to wrap it up next week and see how it goes. I don't know what we're going to do after that. I'll find another book. Or maybe one of you can do what I've been doing. Come on now.
I think for a few,
or Auntie or Barry or Rosemary or Ina, you all old in this team, so you can do exactly what you want to do.
we all did. But I would like to have one evening. I've suggested it so many times, but no reaction. Is just to have an open floor, because all of us have got questions about the business and we don't ask.
Okay, let's make it a date. 2 weeks time. Next week is presentation 10, and the week after that, bring your questions. You've got 2 weeks to get your questions of what you want to know. Anything, Janine, anything about the business and about, there's so much for products. We can ask business.
Business. We don't do a lot of business, huh?
We need to know all the terms, all the PVs, BVs, all those things, how to do a 3 and 30, everything that we need to know. So get your questions, and 2 weeks time, we will do that. Thank you, Auntie.